Do I say okay or?
Yeah, well, just give it a second. It's going live right now. Probably. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Um, Today, again, we're in a conversation with Dr. Abulkhair Jalaluddin. We're discussing the recent Economic Reform Roundtable that was um, instituted by the federal government under the auspices of Treasurer Jim Chalmers and Minister Dr. Jim Charlton. And with us again is Dr. Abulkhair Jalaluddin. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Jalal. Sorry, I'm a little bit unwell, so I've got the scarf and the cap on my head. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Keysar. No problem. You look okay.
Thank you.
And we can hear you properly. No problem at all. Thank you very much.
So just to start this, the Australian government held the roundtable on the 19th to 21st of August. What was the background of this? Why was it organized? What was the idea behind it?
Thanks, Brother Keysar, for having this conversation, which is an important one. In the words of the Federal Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, these recommendations from this roundtable will inform next 3 budgets and beyond. And this is that important for the future of Australian economy. As for the background to this Economic Reform Roundtable, we know that there was a report by the Reserve Bank of Australia in February this year. And this report was about their research into Australian productivity. And this report shows that productivity in Australia has been declining for some years. The declining trend since the COVID-19 pandemic years has costed Australian economy over 25 billion. So much so that Reserve Bank of Australia has revised down the forecast for productivity from 1% to 0.7%. So this was the trigger for the Federal Treasurer to call for this Economic Reform Roundtable. And the objective was to build a common ground for a national reform agenda aimed at boosting productivity, increasing housing supply, tax fairness, AI, and so on. Yes, that was the objective of it.
So who participated in this roundtable?
So this roundtable wasn't as big as similar roundtables we had in the past, like Henry Tax Review we had before. It was smaller in size. About 30 people were invited from different sectors of the economy. And the roundtable was held in the cabinet room of the Australian Parliament in Canberra. In addition to these 30 people, there were ministers joining in various sessions when their portfolios were discussed. And and the representative from different sectors were invited, and they were from government, business, unions, regulatory agencies, and various experts. So again, the objective was to build a consensus on a reform package which will have broad support and political acceptance. Yes. Acceptance. Can you hear me?
Your voice keeps just went out for a minute, so there's a few things I did not hear. But we can
Okay.
just move. We can just move to the. I just wanted to clarify. Were there representatives of the federal opposition at this roundtable?
Yes, there was. The shadow treasurer was invited and he participated in all the sessions and he made a number of contributions. Yes, there was. The shadow treasurer was invited and he participated in all the sessions and he made a number of contributions.
Oh, that's good. So that shows that it's involving the opposition, not just the government. What was the high-level outcome of the roundtable?
So the high-level outcome was the agreement of the roundtable about the key reform areas, including 10 immediate priority reform areas. Another high-level outcome was this provided the government a political cover for acceptance and a momentum, if you like, so that the government can legislate various reform issues. And these reforms issues will be enhancing productivity and economic growth in the long term in Australia.
So I was just by what you said, I was um, somewhat. I shouldn't say the term shocked, but I find it. I find it difficult to conceive that we've been having this poor or very low productivity for such a long time, and it took the government so long before they do an economic reform roundtable. Were they sleeping in the past? I don't know how many years before they did something of this nature, or what was happening. What were they doing to address this productivity problem?
The productivity problem has been there for years before the pandemic, and then it increased, so to speak, after the COVID-19 years. The governments before, they knew that um, they we haven't seen any concerted effort like this one by the previous governments. And to my understanding, this was the first round table, although it was smaller in size, which really doesn't really matter because the relevant people were at the table and they came up a reform package, if you like. And this package, if it is implemented, we hope that there will be productivity improvements in the years to come.
Now, in this package, there are some key issues, such as the national road user charge that they've recommended. What can you tell us about this national road user charge?
Yes. So National Road Users Charge was one of the main recommendation of reform. We know that the use of electronic vehicle is on the rise. We also know that electronic vehicles, they don't use petrol. Therefore, they do not pay fuel excise tax. So now fuel excise tax is substantial from a budget perspective. In 2023-24 financial year, which is the last financial year, federal government collected over 14 billion in fuel excise tax. So now this is a federal government tax, and this is indexed 2 times in a year, in February once and in August one. As of 4 August 2025, just last month, we are paying 51.6 cents per liter of petrol. When we go to the browser and then we purchase petrol, each liter we purchase, we pay 51.6 cents as an excise on it. And it could be any type of petrol, E10, 98, diesel, and so on. So the way it works is um, um, the excise amount is added to the cost of the petrol, and then 10% GST is imposed. So when we purchase petrol, over 1/3 of the price we pay is tax. So now, as people are using more and more EVs, they are not paying any tax. Government is losing fuel tax on that. So to fulfill this gap, this revenue gap, the roundtable agreed that there should be a national road user charge for the people who are driving EVs. And that will provide much needed revenue for the government. So now, although there was no model provided by the roundtable, it was agreed by the federal government, and it was decided that it will be progressed immediately. And that is why there will be an option paper with details of this tax, which will be presented to state and federal treasurers meeting, in fact, tomorrow, 5th of September. Daniel Mookie, the Treasurer of New South Wales, and the Federal Treasurer, Mr. Chalmers, were tasked to prepare this option paper, and this will be presented by the Federal Treasurer tomorrow. So obviously we'll know the details of this charge, they call it. It is a tax, in fact. We'll know very shortly.
So just to make it clear, it's only for the people who have hybrid or electric vehicles, not for petrol or anything like that.
Yes, it is true, because in the model there could be different types of charge, because for the hybrids they also use a bit of petrol. So how that will be compensated, I believe that will be in that option paper. And yes, what you said is correct. Yes, it is only for EVs or hybrids.
Yeah, I can see the complaints starting up and the anger of those people who have hybrids, how it's going to be fair to them. I could only think that they might have to show some fuel bills to the government to get some exemption from the actual excise or tax that they're going to charge. But it's going to be a little, difficult to manage, difficult to structure. But it had to be done because, as you say, the government needs the revenue, and the EV people have had a free run for many years, so they've they've had it without tax for all those years. Now they need to pay their share like everybody else who uses the road, because much of that excise goes into road repairs, new roads, and just making driving safer for the community, doesn't it?
Yes, yes, that's correct.
And I understand that in this roundtable that the government or the roundtable proposed this to fast track this environmental approval in the economy, and that's something that might need to be explained in detail, because um, so far there's so much opacity. It's not very clear uh, how the government is going to address these issues and meet its emissions targets. So
Yes.
yes.
So now we know that environmental approvals are necessary for all major economic projects in the economy, such as house building projects, mining projects, renewable energy projects, and so on. As we speak, there are over 30,000 such projects awaiting approvals. And and this backlog of 30,000 approvals projects include many house building projects, and that's why government cannot increase supply of houses. So now these environmental approvals are given under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1919. So now the roundtable agreed that this legislation should be amended to clear this backlog and speed up all national projects. So the roundtable tasked the Environment Minister, Mary Watt, to have the legislation amended by this Christmas 2025. So it is hoped that if Mari can get the legislation ready by the end of this year, then there will be a bit more supply of houses, which will have a bit of impact on the house prices, especially for the younger house buyers.
So this is going to clearly affect the National Construction Code, and it may very well lead to builders skimping or cutting corners. Um, have they considered this, or what have they considered what impact this will have on keeping builders to a certain standard, and what penalties they might increase, or new penalties to introduce? Because even with the current standards, there are unscrupulous builders who don't do their construction properly, and the consumer is left out with a huge repair bill. I know there's not a lot of them, but the worry is that with fast tracking, that this might create some loopholes for builders to sneak through and leave consumers really undefended, unprotected.
Yeah, that is why the roundtable said that the law should be amended to include all the things you just mentioned, the compliance issues and the penalty issues. And some of them would be some of the types of housing to be built. So all the things you are mentioning it is intended that that legislation, that amendment, will include that so that to some extent the consumers and the people who are buying these houses, they will be protected on that. Related to that, as you mentioned, there was recommendations around National Construction Code. Maybe I say a few things on that, as you have also already mentioned on this. So we know that the builders will have to comply with National Construction Code to complete construction of houses. Today, this code has over 2,000 pages. It is incredibly complex and it delays projects and it increases the cost. And that's why the roundtable agreed that this National Construction Code should be streamlined to facilitate quicker construction of houses and other buildings. There is another recommendation by the roundtable about this code, which is they think that any update to this code should be paused at least until 1 July 2029, which is the period for National Housing Accord. A National Housing Accord is an agreement between federal government and state governments to build houses for Australians. So if they pause updates to this course, which is already over 2,000 pages, then hopefully that will facilitate quicker construction of houses. So it is a complex matter. One area is the legislation. Another area is which is within regulation, which is the construction code. They should talk each other and they should be framed in line with each other. But in many cases, they are not. So they are not harmonized. So that's why this recommendation is made. Then they all should be streamlined and some of the updates should be paused until certain time so that Australians can have a better supply of houses.
It's good to hear that the roundtable recommended to simplify regulations. I think that's one of the issues that always hung around government regulations and taxation, and this is the type of issue that creates a niche of experts or so-called experts who seem to be the only ones who can interpret what government what the government had intended. And it just makes life more complex and more costly, makes every aspect of business more complex and more costly. So I suppose that's a good outcome. And they want to eliminate what they term as nuisance tariffs. Is this some sort of a rebuttal to the American president, who seems to have his favorite word being the word tariff?
Um, 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 A short answer to that is no. There's nothing to do with the tariffs of Trump. We know all about tariffs of Trump because they get a lot of media coverage. So what the roundtable is talking about is the Australian tariffs, nothing to do with Trump's tariffs. You'll be surprised to know that there are over 315 small tariffs in Australia. For example, there is a tariff of 5% on imported air conditioners. And also, there is a 5% tariff on cast iron pipes and tubes, which are used in housing constructions. So, what it means is if you use an imported air conditioner in your house or office, there is a tariff you pay. Not that you pay, the importer pays. Tariff is always importer pays, and then it is passed on to the people who are buying these conditioners. So that these tariffs, in fact, raise little revenue for the government. In fact, there are research that show that the collection of this tariff cost more money than it raises. In addition to that, these tariffs increase compliance cost for businesses, and also it jacks up prices in the marketplace. And that is why the roundtable calls it a nuisance table, because it's not producing much and but creating a lot of issues. So they recommended that these tariffs should be eliminated altogether to cut unnecessary red tape, as well as to boost productivity of businesses, as well as increase investment in the economy. So hopefully these tariffs will make the lives of our businesses, a lot of them are small businesses, a bit better, and they don't have to spend a lot of time on compliance, and they will have time to concentrate on their business, which will create their profits and employment for Australians.
Well, that has been an issue. Reporting, compliance, and various regulations make life very difficult for small businesses. It's not viable to hire an accountant to do all that work because they don't make enough profit to do it. Um, a lot of the work they have to do themselves, and that really ends up disrupting what they're supposed to do, and that is making business. So it's good to see a sensible approach to tariffs, and it would be great if they actually take it completely outside the fiscal dictionary, because as it would seem that normally tariffs are implemented when you have a manufacturing industry. What manufacturing industry do we have?
Yes.
It's not, it's been farmed out. Unfortunately, most of it's gone. There's very little, and um, it just makes you wonder about some of these revenue exercises. But now that they realize that it actually costs them more to collect, to implement, and to collect and to police than they actually are making in revenue. That, I suppose that's the only common sense approach. The only possible approach is to eliminate all these costly imposts on businesses. Now, the next thing that they've come up with is to do with instead of just calling it tax reform, which it really is, they're calling it tax fairness. Now, I remember in the days of the Howard government, they brought all these changes to employment conditions, and they called it work choices, and it was exactly the opposite of what it's supposed to be. Instead of giving workers more choices, they took away a lot of the choices of workers. They took away a lot of the power of unions, and uh, I don't think in the long term that workers were better off. I think they ended up being worse off. Um, this talk about tax fairness, is it uh, uh, is it a misdirection, or are they genuine about making taxes fairer for the Australian citizenry, for the Australian public? So instead of tax reform, are they genuinely looking to make sure that those who make a lot of money are paying their fair share of taxes?
Yes, this is interesting. Normally, we hear about tax reform. This is to some extent, a new terminology which is coming from the round table, tax fairness. We didn't hear that before. So now whether that will produce a good outcome for the Australian workers or not, I guess we'll see that in the details and when this reform is implemented. Basically, what is happening and what they're saying is um, um, uh, in the round table, we need to know this, that they did not suggest any comprehensive tax reform program at all. What they did was instead they have endorsed three guiding principles of tax reform. So these three guiding principles are fairness, simplicity, and sustainability. So now the interesting thing is that tax fairness. What is this tax fairness? Tax fairness is the fairness in terms of intergenerational taxation. What they mean is that there is a lack of fairness in our tax system. In other words, what they're really saying is our tax system is skewed to older generation, means older generation is getting more benefits from the tax system than the younger generation. And they provided few examples. One example was negative gearing. So what they're saying is only the older generation has investment properties and they can get benefits out of negative gearing tax concessions. Younger generation, they even cannot buy a house to live in, let alone to buy a house to invest and get that negative gearing benefit. So that's why they're saying it is skewed to that. The other example they gave was concession on capital gains tax. So again, the younger generation, they don't have asset. They don't appreciate because they don't have even asset. Normally, the older generation, they have built up their asset, they have invested, and there is a capital gain tax, and then they get a concession on this. And the other, which is the last example I want to talk to you, what they're saying is the superannuation. The tax benefit out of superannuation system, they're saying mostly, and to some extent it is true, going to the older generation because, they're paying more tax, therefore, and contributing to more superannuation and getting better level of tax benefit out of this. Having said that, I must mention one thing, which is when we say older generation is getting all these benefits, definitely older generation, when they bought investment properties, they have paid tax. Older generation, when they build up their assets, they have paid taxes on those money they use to purchase those assets. And even in terms of superannuation, older generation has been paying taxes on their income. And because their income is high, they pay more superannuation contributions and get more tax benefit out of that. So this is the tax fairness thing. And very briefly on the other two principles, one was simplicity. That is mainly what they mean is to boost incentive for investment, cut red tapes, and so on. And the sustainability is an important one. What they're saying is our tax system, as well as government's expenditure programs, must make sure that we are able to fund the necessary and important services such as aged care and NDIS. So, in the media, in fact, the tax fairness got the most coverage because we can't really ignore this, and it has a lot of issues in it, and there are compliance and challenges how to implement these so-called tax fairness issues. So as we go ahead with these reforms, we'll have more details and see how it is panning out for people. Thank you.
Well, if talking about negative gearing benefiting the older generation and the affordability of housing, with the recent jump in house prices, they're really completely out of reach of salary and wage earners. And unless you can become a very successful tradesperson who owns his own business, I think um, house ownership is no longer within the reach of even if you have a high salary at 150 to $100,000, that's not enough to be able to pay off a $1.5 million mortgage unless you want to move completely outside the Sydney metropolitan area where a house is a little bit cheaper, but not a lot cheaper. So still looking at hefty mortgages and in the present employment market. It's not particularly conceivable that somebody can last in the same salaried position or wage position for 30 years to be able to pay off a mortgage for 25 to 30 years. I think there's needs to be a lot more done to make housing more viable. I don't know what they can do about land values, and if somebody complains that their house has gone down in price as a result of land release, well, house pricing is relative. Whether if it goes down, it's good for everybody because it means you can buy more. And when you sell your house, you can buy the new house cheaper if you want a place to live in. Maybe only the investors truly benefit from this hike, and I don't know if capital gains tax can catch up with them to make it fairer or create any form of deterrent from a lot of people buying so many houses and keeping them outside of the rental market because it's more profitable to make them into an Airbnb or some other investment. I think there's a very strong case here for the fairness to include making sure that there's more affordable. I mean, they'll always have a situation where the wealthy will use their wealth to exploit whatever situation. And this is why regulation in this area becomes so important so that it doesn't keep young people completely outside of the housing market. I don't know, the rental is sky high, the prices are sky high. And for young people, unless, on an ordinary salary or wage, unless they're willing to live together as a commune in a small house, I don't know how they can afford it. It's just incredibly expensive. But
Yes, I concur the issues you were raising, and you know that there's a large issues to have a discussion maybe another day. Thank you.
inshallah, but the next part also impacts on jobs, and that is artificial intelligence. And um, the roundtable agreed on some regulations for artificial intelligence and copyright protection. But copyright protection really is not the only issue. The um, the AI having access to so much material, even if they were to pay like the newspaper, like Meta used to pay the newspapers. They paid them for a year for the use of their of newspaper articles, and then they said we're not paying anymore. You can do whatever you like. We're not paying anymore. So AI is not going away, and the big players have built huge AI farms, servers, and like uh, bigger than an entire suburb made up of computer servers. There's a really good book about this by Karen Ho. She talks about the impact on the environment, the danger to jobs, exploitations, all the negative things that come with AI, and AI's incredible thirst for fresh water to keep the equipment cool so it can function. So AI is not just jobs; it is myriad of issues that need to be addressed. Now, I don't know how much this roundtable has addressed. Did they only address copyright protection? Did they address only job losses, or did they address the big picture of the impact on water supply, on the environment? It's a government's job to protect these areas, and also it's a government's job to create employment. So how far did they go, and did they come up with any um,
Okay.
potentially workable ideas?
Yes. Um, if you look at their discussion around AI regulation, it gives you a sense that their recommendations are to minimize risks in all areas and maximize benefits in all areas. So basically, just to organize what they are proposing is um, what Roundtable said was there has been a concern, and I will say a significant concern of job losses in many sectors of the economy due to the application of AI. That is definitely a major area. So now they also said that there are other significant concerns in other areas, such as copyright protection, which encompasses a large area of economic activity, as well as privacy of people and businesses. So for reforming these areas, the roundtable agreed that government should conduct a comprehensive gap analysis, so to speak. And this gap analysis will determine whether the existing laws adequately cover AI-related risks or not. And AI-related risks are employment, copyright, privacy, and all the other things you have mentioned, including water supply to power, this AI operation and their training and searches. So what they're saying is the existing law, they should look at whether they can adequately address that or not, or whether we need standalone or AI specific laws enacted by the parliament. We think that is a good approach because not necessarily we need more laws and regulation that complicates everywhere people's life and businesses' life. So if the existing legislation can do the job, then we will rely on them. If they cannot, then we will enact laws to do that. So that is one part of the recommendation. Another part of the recommendation was there has been a lot of concern in the media and also different sectors of the economy around the contents, the content creators. So we know that in the Australian economy, many people, they create contents, including individual artists. So now when AI uses their contents in their training and searches, AI does not pay any compensation to these content creators. So that is to say that these content creators, they are losing, and then they can't really, nobody buys their content because they're available through AI. So um, therefore what Roundtable achieved was, in fact, they have achieved an agreement between unions, which covers the employees, and the tech companies through Tech Council of Australia to develop a model which will compensate content creators if AI uses their contents in their searches and in their training. And again, that was viewed a good outcome that they have agreed to develop this model. In addition to that, because they spent a lot of time and justifiably so, a lot of time on AI. The other initiatives they discussed around AI was posing mandatory guardrail regulations, because if they stop AI doing what AI is doing today, then we as a people, as Australians, will be deprived of many good things AI offers. So that, therefore, the roundtable said that do not implement a guardrail on that as yet. Just do the gap analysis and see what we can do. Then the second thing they said that minimizing risks such as employment losses and maximizing benefits. Obviously, AI is not only risks; there are benefits to that too. So therefore, we should devise a system in Australia whereby we can get the maximum benefit, and then we can reduce the risk out of it. Other area the roundtable said was that public sector should be encouraged to use AI in their service delivery, which is a red light for job losses. This can cause a lot of job losses in the government sectors, but it can also create benefits to create government services, including planning areas and so on. It also says that government should support AI literacy, because this is going to be in Australia as internet. When internet came, we did not take much note, but we can't live without it. AI is going to be the similar phenomena. So government needs to spend some resources for educating people, AI and its risk and so on. And the last thing, they also said that if necessary, government should have workforce rescaling if it is needed in different work areas. So what I understand out of this is there were a comprehensive discussion, and then we will just have to see the details in the near future, as we said, because there is already a talk about establishing that gap analysis, and that will be the beginning of it. And hopefully AI, because we cannot just eliminate AI in our lives and businesses' life, hopefully we'll have better benefit out of it, and hopefully we would be able to minimize risks out of this AI machine. Thank you. I'm just going a bit quickly so that we are almost
Yeah,
out of the time, maybe. Yep, yep,
uh,
yep, yep,
we're
yep,
coming
yep. All right,
close.
thank you.
We've been going for
Yep,
almost
yep,
an
thank you.
hour. Maybe we'll try and there's
Yep.
three more questions, but I just wanted to add something on this AI situation. Um, Look, I've been looking into it in the last month or so, and what I've found is that it is great at getting information, at searching for information, but it forgets. If you engage in a long conversation, it forgets important matters. It struggles to deal with complex ideas. It struggles to deal with some issues. You need to constantly remind it. You need to constantly review. And one of the good things is that some of the AI applications out there do tell you that they can make mistakes and that you should review everything they tell you thoroughly before you use it. But I mentioned Karen Howard's book. It's called Empire of AI, and I recommend to viewers to get this book and read it, and also look for her interviews on YouTube. Very informative. Um, Look, I find AI useful, but uh, it's an issue of the ethics of AI. And I've experimented with different applications. One of them I found to be um, completely unethical. Its ethics depend on the user. So if you have a user that uh, tells it to do good things, then it'll talk in a good way. If it's got a user who wants to do bad things, it seems to encourage them to do the bad things. There are some things that are still short of the mark that need to be improved. But again, I just recommend to viewers um, to have a look at this book, Empire of AI by Karen Howe. Her surname is spelled Hao. And again, recommend to equip yourself to become more aware, to learn how to use this tool for good instead of the other potential that it can be used for. What are the recommendations of the roundtable around skills and training reform?
Yes, that is a good question. I will just go over very quickly, just to mention one point, what you said, Brother Kaiser. In fact, that is what the roundtable means about AI literacy. All the things you mentioned, we need to be educated on that, and that is what they meant. So just very briefly, we have discussed almost all 10, almost all issues and reforms areas the roundtable agreed upon. And among them, they have said that there are 10 areas government should immediately move on them. And these are briefly, I will just maybe I will just say very briefly, among them is um, uh, uh, progressing a single market in Australia, around simplifying trade and abolishing tariffs, better regulations, speeding up approvals in national priority areas, um, building more homes more quickly, making AI a national priority, which we just talked about a lot, attracting capital and investments from overseas, building a skilled um, and adaptable workforce, establishing fairer intergenerational tax system, and number 10 is modernizing government services, which is what they mean is using um, uh, government uh, so using AI to deliver government services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Jalal. Very informative, and mashallah, you've done a thorough investigation into this and given plenty of information to our viewers and to our listeners. I will pass this. I'll pass a voice recording to Voice of Islam Radio, inshallah, and they can play it. And inshallah, I will let people know when it will be played in the comment section. Um, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close off? But before you do that, I just want to again apologize that I'm not feeling very well, and this is why I've got the beanie on and the scarf, and this it looks like either an allergy or the onset of a flu. I don't know. We're in spring, so allergy season, but it could well be a cold as well because of the change in weather. So I don't know, and I can't be bothered going to the doctor. That takes too long, too much waiting. I don't know if we
I
get the
think
doctors in this country.
Brother Kaisar, you have done well. I think your voice was clear, and thanks for coming on and having this conversation while you are not 100%. Just one or two words about the final thing. In fact, it is highly viewed that the roundtable was successful in creating a shared ownership of reform agenda. And this shared ownership was between business, unions, and government. And these are the main stakeholders in the economy. And specifically, it is viewed that the roundtable was highly successful in building a consensus on the issues of reform in the areas which we have already discussed. And the other thing is viewed, especially in the media, is this roundtable was more than a talk fest. It wasn't only just discussion. It produced tangible reform agenda, and it provided the government a political cover, if you like, and a momentous for them to legislate different reform issues. And these reform issues, if they're legislated and implemented, then that will enhance productivity and economic growth in Australia in the long term. And that will benefit to generate more income, more taxes, and more employment for all Australians. Again, thank you very much for having this conversation, and I hope that will benefit our viewers to some extent. Thank you again.
Jazakumullah khairan, Brother Jalal, and until next time, inshallah, uh, this was very informative, and we will also share it. I'll give you a, a shareable version, maybe a YouTube link as well, inshallah. And thank you to everyone who's uh, stayed with us to watch this conversation, and those who will be watching it in the future. If you have any questions to the view, if any of the viewers have any questions, please let us know, and we will put them to Dr. Jalal either as questions that we will answer later in the comments, or if you don't want it in the comments area, we can send them to you through different means. Again, Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much, everybody. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.